Okay, if we broke open an egg, there are some characteristic structures here in the egg that we look for. The main thing that we usually see in the egg is, of course, the outside of the egg, the shell. And then within the shell, we see a yellow disc in the middle. That's what we call the yolk. The yolk has the energy for the chick. And then all this clear stuff that we call white, or albumin in the egg. And that's basically the protein source for the chick. So if you think about it, an egg is a self-contained RV for the chick. Everything it has is there inside the egg. In fact, there's a little air cell here in the large portion of the egg for air transpiration too. So there's really thin spots in the shell up here that allow air and gas to move back and forth through there. The chalaza, which is a protein structure here, helps keep the egg yolk centered in the middle of the egg. And that's important because if it doesn't do that, then the egg yolk could actually stick to the inside of the egg and tear. That's not good. The actual chicken starts off as a small group of cells we call the germinal disc. And what does that look like? Looks like a knob or a donut. And that's what you're looking for, is a donut. It's just a little tiny spot. It's no more than the tip of a pencil in some eggs. And it's floating there on top of the yolk. So all of this is not the chick. Only this part is the chick. So this whole egg will fill with a chick as it grows. So as the chicken grows, inside of there, we see the absorption of the yolk as they move through time. The chick will start growing in an embryonic sac, just like mammals. But then there's a special growth that comes out of the chick called the allantois. And the allantoid cavity here allows the chicken to breathe. And that's very important. Okay? Now I'm going to leave this presentation with Miss Quick, so you don't have to sit there and write all these down. She can print these off for you later, or let you look at it again. But the important thing to remember is that there's always food, water, air, and shock absorption within the egg, just as if it was a mammal. Okay? The only difference is that it's all self-contained, and there's no maternal contribution to this. Once the egg is laid, they're on their own. And that's true of all birds. All birds have to go through this embryonic process. Yes?
Yeah, back to when you said that, like, if like the eggs don't hatch into a chick, do you just toss them?
Yes. Yes, because we can't use them for food because they've been kept at a temperature of almost 100 degrees. And if there's any bacterial contamination in there, you couldn't eat that. It would be sick. So we tend to throw those eggs away, and they're not used for eating. Good question. So here's an actual egg with an actual germinal disc on it. Can you see it? Sometimes it's hard to see. A lot of times when I'm doing a breakout analysis in a hatchery, I actually use a clear pie plate, because I'll break the egg out, and if I don't see the disc there, I usually pick up the plate and I look underneath, and I can see the disc that's underneath the yolk on the bottom of the pie plate. So here's the large end of the egg, and this part right here is the germinal disc. Now, looking at this one, can you see that there's a definite donut shape there? There's two areas here that we call the zona lucida and the zona opaca. Opaque means that you can usually see through it. And so that's what forms this characteristic donut. And this is what we use to determine fertility in a flock. We actually sacrifice some eggs, break them open, and see how many donuts do we have in the sample. And that gives us a percentage of fertility within the flock. And every company that hatches chicks will periodically do what we call a fertility test of the flocks as they move on, especially when they start their production and when they end their production. You need to know when to start and stop. This is a 3-day-old embryo. Almost every system that is in the body is already started to form. So the legs have started to form, the intestines have started to form, the eyes have started to form. And you see the veins and arteries moving across the surface of the egg yolk. This is helping to create a lung, basically, to move air in and out of the embryo that is sitting right here. Here's the backbone of the embryo. The head is here. This right here is the heart. And if this was an egg in front of us, we probably would see this beating. Yes?
How do you keep it alive with the shell open?
We sacrifice these eggs for this presentation. These eggs are sacrificed. So we can seal the egg to a certain degree with saran wrap and maybe keep it alive for a little bit longer. But typically these eggs don't survive very well opened up.
That's not us.
Okay. Somebody went over the wall. Okay, so here we are, 1 week of incubation. 1 week, 7 days. It's starting to look more and more like a chick. One of the key parts here, and one of the biggest things to develop, are the eyes and the brain. There's actually a ring of bone that helps shape the eyes of a chicken. And those are forming along with the leg bones and the wing bones. You can actually see the wing bones and a little bit of the feather tracks here in this embryo. The egg tooth, which is used to help break out of the shell, is also present at a week of age, incubation. Here's 10 days. You can already see that there's an egg, there's eyelids over covering the eyes. You can see definitely feathers there and claws. And the bones are starting to get longer and longer. And so basically all the things that are there in the chick are there. They're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, at 10 days, we usually can pull the eggs out of an incubator and see how they're doing. If an embryo happens to not make it or die, a lot of times you'll see a characteristic ring around the edge of the egg, and we call this a blood ring. Okay? And so you look for those as you're handling eggs. They should be starting to get dark after 10 days of age as the chick starts to fill up the egg with its body. So here's 2 weeks old. It takes 3 weeks to incubate a chicken. And so this is what 2 weeks would look like. And you can definitely see the claws here, a formed beak, and eyelids covering the eyes. All of the internal organs are functioning at this point in time. The one thing that's missing is the functioning of the lungs. The lungs are the last to start working only after the chick hatches or they work. And if all goes well, we get chicken, right? Okay.